Special meeting of the Edmond City Council for May 4th is now called to order. I want to thank all of you for watching this evening. The Edmond City Council is conducting this special meeting tonight. Our notice was posted last Thursday by the city officials. A week ago on April 27th, on a Monday, we had a regular city council meeting that night. And at the end of the regular business, we approved an amendment that supported the governor's plan to begin phase 1 to reopen businesses, activities in our community that included restaurants with inside dining, hair and barbershops, hair salons and barbershops, dog grooming, and all the retail stores in our town. These businesses were asked to comply with the guidelines published by the State of Oklahoma Commerce Department, which was part of the governor's Hours program. Hours stands for Open Up and Recover Safely. Tonight we're doing a virtual meeting, again because of the national coronavirus emergency. The city council members are not located in our city council building. As your mayor, I'm sitting in the mayor's office in the city first building. The other council members are attending this meeting via home. Oklahoma statutes now permit public meetings like this to be held remotely. The rules permit either audio only or visual and audio together. Before we introduce the next item of the agenda, I will ask our city attorney, Steve Murdock, to make some opening remarks regarding the virtual meeting. Mr. Murdock?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Edmond City Council will close the council chambers and hold a special meeting tonight by video conference. This change is to protect the public health while maintaining critical operations and is in accordance with recent changes to the State Open Meeting Act as set out in Senate Bill 651. The changes define how to hold open meetings remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic and national emergency. Each member of the City Council able to attend this special meeting and members of the city staff are participating remotely via video conference. The posted agenda provides notice to the public on how to watch the meeting and connect to the meeting. Also, should a connection with any one of the City Council members present for the video conference be lost, the meeting will be recessed to reestablish the connection. We will recess the meeting up to a maximum of 30 minutes to reestablish the connection. If reconnection is not possible, the meeting will be reconvened at a later date and time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, could you, Mr. Moore is our city's communications director. Would you explain how we meet the open meeting obligations and sequence citizen input using the Zoom meeting, video, audio, remote services?
Yes, sir. Anybody that would like to provide public comment when the mayor signifies that it's time for such can signify that they would like to speak by using the raise hand feature at that time. So that is within the participants. So if you're in the Zoom meeting, you can click on participants and there's a raise hand feature. If you do that, we will call on you at the appropriate time and we will unmute you and give you the opportunity to speak if you would like to at that time. For someone that has called in and is not in the Zoom meeting, you can raise your hand by using *9. It will do the same thing. We will also notify you the same way.
All right, thank you very much, Casey. Like I said earlier, our last meeting was a week ago. This past Friday on May 1st, we rolled out the phase 1 of the program that allowed businesses to open up. Businesses that had been previously unable to operate because either they were non-essential or because they were special restrictions. I did a radio show that morning on one of the local stations here, and I was able to confirm that Around the Corner was open for business on May 1st. So I thought that was sort of a good way to kick off how we reopened our business in our community. When we closed the meeting last week, our main concern was making sure that all of the businesses that were involved in this, a substantial number of different kinds, knew about the rules from the governor and that were published by the Department of Commerce, that there were special restrictions. We were concerned, and that's part of why we were one of the first cities to step forward and say we're ready to open on the 1st of May. Um, I did a poll of 20, when we started this on March 18th, the first proclamation, we polled 25 restaurants the city did for us, and all but 8 had already closed in anticipation of the emergency that had been declared by the governor a couple of days prior. At this time, on May 1st, almost all but about 8 had already opened and had plans and were in place and were ready to open on the 1st of May. So I appreciate the citizens and the businesses in our community anxiously complying with the change in order. And there were some that weren't quite ready, and some that wanted to show some more patience before jumping in and starting the business, because they were concerned about how it would be operated safely for their customers. And we appreciate that also. I guess part of our goal was sort of to slow down the rollout, if you would, of the restaurants and salons and the barbershops. And I think it was a success. I had a chance to visit some of the restaurants here in town, and I was really impressed with their efforts to try to make the dining experience very safe. I don't know if any of the rest of the council had those kind of experiences or not, but I was very pleased to see that kind of conscientious effort to comply with the governor's requirements and to make their experience a safe one and enjoyable. Any other thoughts, council, at this time? Okay.
Appeared to me that everybody in Ward 1 was following safe practices that I saw.
Okay. All right. We're going to ask our city manager to give us a report, Larry Stevens, to report on some of the city's activities. They also opened up a number of venues in our community. And Larry, will you give us a report on what the city did this week, starting May 1st?
Hey, sure, I will. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We did have several city facilities that reopened, including the farmers market. It reopened Saturday from 9 to 1. The business report that I got was that it was steady, not overwhelming, but the arrangements seemed to work fine. The vendors were generally pleased. We also know that there were some downtown restaurants that had reopened. Several of those are still doing takeout only. Some are now open. Actually, that's not just a downtown situation. That's a situation that you can find with our restaurants throughout the community. Some are still doing the takeout only. Some are now open. Some are getting ready to open. So that's kind of a fluctuating situation, but it's the same situation throughout our community. The golf course reopened Friday. It went fine. There was a lot of activity out there, a lot of people playing. We did have people wearing masks while they were in the clubhouse. And again, from the observations we had, a lot of activity, that things went well. I might mention the cancellation of Liberty Fest. That was a decision that was made by the Liberty Fest committee, who, as you know, has been agonizing for several months over what to do with the current situation and how it impacts that very popular annual event. So no matter which way they went, it would be unpopular. But they have made their decision. It was not a city decision, and I'm sure some of you have heard some comments about that as well. But we have been talking off and on with that group for the past 6 weeks or so, and just talking to them about their deliberations as to what would be the best course of action for them to pursue. One other item that I thought also was pertinent from our police chief, J.D. Younger. We had more incidents overall, and specifically more incidents and traffic stops over the weekend, which would also indicate an increased level of activity in our community. As for the phase 2 reopenings that we briefly reviewed with you before, We'll have more information for you at your regular meeting a week from tonight concerning those activities.
Any other questions, council, for our city manager?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stillwell, he's our Director for Emergency Management. Matt, can you give us an update on the virus trends and Edmond numbers?
Okay, I'm unmuted. So yeah, we're seeing a fluctuation, particularly over the weekends, on new cases being reported. For the state, we did get over the number of 4,000, and today's numbers are up to 4,044 cases in the state, 841 cases in Oklahoma County. And in Edmond, late last week, we discovered an inconsistency with the data that was being provided, which we're using to determine the Edmond specific numbers. And we've been working with the state in order to shore that up. But as of this point, we can report that there are 63 known addresses for cases here in Edmond. There was some duplication that wasn't being reported before last week. We've spoken to the state. They have, since Friday, been reporting a one-for-one basis on the information that we're using. We've asked them to go back and look for other duplications. As you can imagine, they're extremely busy. And they said they would work with us on that, but they really couldn't give us a time frame to give us that information. So for the time being, we agreed that the best number to report rather than individual cases would be the number of known addresses in the city. So we are at 63 at this point. So that's basically it. We have looked at the gating information that was provided a couple weeks ago and shared with the public. The trends there appear to be positive. As we look, we see trends moving in the direction in most areas that we want to see it. So I don't know if Mayor or council members, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to field any if you do.
Council, are there any questions for Matt?
Yes, sir.
No.
This time.
Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate that very much. Mr. Murdock, we're going to ask for you to give us sort of an update on what happened, what the governor did since our last meeting. See if there's any changes there. And also, I guess, the city of Oklahoma City published theirs. There are some distinctions. And maybe you can tell us about what some of the big changes for phase 2 will be for the city to be concerned about.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, the governor did make a clarification with regard to those folks who have been described as vulnerable individuals and the deadline for them to stay at home. That deadline has now been identified as May 15th. The city also issued their proclamation extending the dates and adopting the governor's plan in many areas that allow for the phase 1 adoption as we have done. They kept some additional restrictions related to social gatherings and limited that number to 10. But generally speaking, their guidelines and requirements are very similar to ours, although they went into a little bit more detail than we did. The governor's hours plan with regard to phase 2 is scheduled to, at least the goal is May 15th, as identified by the governor. That would be subject to all the original guidelines in phase 1 being met. And so the governor provided some additional information related to visits to senior care facilities and hospitals should still be prohibited. Bars can operate with diminished standing room occupancy where applicable and appropriate and under social distancing and sanitation protocols. Funerals and weddings could resume under social distancing protocols, and children's nursery areas and places of worship can reopen. So we'll wait to see kind of as we continue to see how things go with phase 1, not only in our community, but throughout the state. Continuing to monitor the governor's any communications that we receive, as well as other metropolitan area communities. Just to mention that as city manager did, we will be having our regular meeting on May 11th, and we'll continue to monitor and have recommendations for you. So the biggest distinction between phase 1 and phase 2, at least in some ways, is related to the ability of bars to open. So Guidelines are still being published and updated on the governor, on the Department of Commerce website. And at this time, the staff does not have a recommendation, does not recommend that we make any changes tonight.
Thank you very much. Council, any other questions for Mr. Murdock?
No.
Thank you. I understood that sporting events was also a phase 2 activity. Is that true? I would guess the baseball and soccer things. Maybe I got that wrong.
There is some language in phase 2 that organized sports activities can reopen and operate under proper social distancing and sanitation protocols. I apologize, I should have mentioned that. As we mentioned in our last meeting, we're still working with our sports partners as it relates to possible openings of those types of youth sports activities. So we'll have more information for you next Monday night.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, that's probably a pretty big deal. It's almost baseball season, or it is. I guess it would be if it wasn't for the emergency. Council, is there a recommendation on the floor that we proceed with no changes? I guess there's no need to make a motion on that. Do we want to ask for public comments now? Casey, do we have anybody online?
We do not have any hands raised at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Council, is there, if there's any comments or thoughts that you would like to mention or talk about? I noticed that Edmond's son was announced that they were closing down, effective, I guess, immediately, effective certainly this Wednesday. It's going to make it a little difficult for us. They were part of one of the major factors that we had in helping communicate to the public. They have a history in our community that goes back to the first day of 1889 when our town was started and the land run. It'd be a shame to lose that. Anyway, I think it's important that we have a newspaper in the community, and hopefully we will find some people that have a love for our community and a love for reporting and the newspaper business that will be able to take over this operation eventually and secure it and bring it back home. Any other thoughts? Maybe we need to help encourage that. What do you think, Nick?
Well, you know, I'm really disappointed for Edmond and for the employees of the Edmond Sun. They've got a special place in my heart. They've actually been running my columns for a number of years. And the Edmond Sun is owned, like a lot of community newspapers, they're owned by a newspaper holding company out of Alabama called CNHI. A number of years ago, there were about 150 papers that they owned. I'm not sure what the number is today, but probably well over 100 still. But I guess they made a business decision that they needed to do some consolidating, and they consolidated the Sun with the Norman transcript, which is disappointing. But like you, I'm hopeful that maybe somebody will step forward and encourage their corporate owners to do something different. I've talked with a couple of the reporters and the editor today, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure they're quite disappointed.
Certainly a real blow to our community, particularly during this time when we have a national emergency. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Council, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
We have a second? Okay. Cinda, you want to read the roll call for that?
Yes. Council members Chapman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill.
Yes. Before we adjourn, I want to apologize for not mentioning and doing our roll call of the people attending. Council member Josh Moore was not able to attend tonight. He had out of town obligation, and so that's why you see only 4 of us here tonight. So, thank you all, council, for being here, and thank you, staff, for your report. And thank our community for doing a really good job of rolling this out safely, we think, and hopefully we'll keep things going more and more positive. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.